The Pope's Final Message, a novella by P.J. Gott and Logan Light. Chapter 11, The Keeper of the Bones. They walked in silence through the Vatican garden where the scent of rosemary clung to the mist. The Pope had granted Pamela and Lia rare permission to descend beneath the city, to the necropolis hidden below St. Peter's Basilica. Their guide was a silent woman in a dark robe with keys that jingled like wind chimes. She led them down stone staircases and through sealed gates, past frescoes of dolphins and phoenixes, past the crumbling tomb of a woman named Petronilla, once honored as the daughter of Peter. Finally, they reached a narrow corridor. The walls were carved with strange symbols, some Hebrew, some Greek. The guide stopped, inserted a final key, and pushed open an iron door. Inside was a small chamber lined with bone reliquaries. In the center, a glass case held a skull, resting atop a cushion of crimson silk. Next to it lay a bundle of olive branches, a broken staff, and a shard of marble engraved with only 3 letters, N.S.R. Each relic a symbol, each one a code waiting to be remembered. Pamela stepped forward. Is this what I think it is? The guide finally spoke. It is the relic of the last high priest of the Nasarenes, hidden after he died in the 5th century purge. Lia leaned in. Do you know his name? Gamaliel, the last Nasi, the last to memorize the midrash of YaH-Zeus in full. He transported the bodies from the baker's tomb to the summit of Esquiline Hill, where he buried them in a small chapel he called Santa Maria Maggiore. Pamela stared at the shard. N.S.R. She turned to Lia. It means both Nasar and Ansar, the Sumerian first father. The guide nodded. This chamber is not listed on any map. Not even the College of Cardinals knows it exists. Lia whispered, all these years, buried beneath their cathedral. The guide responded, not buried, protected. And now revealed, Pamela said. It survived, all of it. Not just the feather or the codex, the bodies, the memory, the voice. She reached out, fingertips brushing the glass. A whisper. Not imagined, real. A voice from within. Do this in memory of her. Pamela shivered, the whisper echoing through her bones. The bones were not silent. They remembered. And now, so would she. Chapter 12, The Magdalene Key. They returned to their apartment near the Tiber just after midnight. The cobbled streets of Rome gleamed with rain, and the city seemed determined to keep its secrets. Lia lit a candle. Pamela set the feather on the table, then uncorked the second bottle, this one gifted by the Swiss guard with a wink and a warning, for sacred discoveries only. She poured without speaking, her thoughts still circling all they had seen and heard. Lia raised her glass to what was buried and is now ready to arise. Pamela clinked hers gently, to memory, and to the women who kept it alive. The wine was bolder this time, almost defiant. Its warmth spread slowly, softening the weight of buried truths and the ache of a history written in silence and blood. I don't think I'll be able to sleep, Pamela murmured. Neither can I. That whisper. Pamela nodded. It was a liturgy, not just a message, a memory embedded in the bones. She opened her journal. Parchment fragments from the Vatican glowed faintly in the candlelight. She turned to the notes she'd made months ago, translations from Greek, Aramaic, and the layered meaning of BTLHM. But now something new caught her eye. A sentence staring up from the fragment. The key of Magdalene is a mirror of the Nazar. It is the balm for the wound. She traced the line with her finger. The Magdalene, was the invisible half of the whole, the keeper, the transmitter. Lia leaned over. The story wasn't just passed by the high priest. There were women, guardians of the second voice. Pamela's breath quickened. Yes, two Torahs, two voices, one recited by the priest, one preserved by Mary Magdalene. Lia was quiet for a moment, weighing whether to speak. She didn't often talk about her brother, especially not the verse that had driven him to despair and suicide. But if anyone might have found a different way to read it, it was Pamela. You look worried. Pamela noticed the shift in her expression. Lia took a breath. I've been trying to find the right words. Pamela touched her arm. It's me. Just say it. VFS code still holds. Lia nodded slowly. It's about my brother. Well, it's actually about anyone who doesn't fall inside traditional gender and sexual norms. It's the verse from Leviticus, the one everyone quotes to justify judgment. The one that says a man shall not lie with another man. She hesitated, then added, Have you ever used Philo's method to read it? Pamela exhaled slowly. That's the translation, but not necessarily the meaning. She reached for her notebook and wrote two Hebrew words side by side, Zakar and Ish. Leviticus 18:22 uses Zakar, not Ish. And when the text says, quote, man shall not lie with man, end quote, the Hebrew is actually this. She wrote the Hebrew words, Zakar, Lo, Tishkaf, Vishkev, Isha, Zakar. Now here's the accurate translation that's been hidden. It doesn't say a man shall not lie with a man. It says, literally, a Zakar shall not lie with the lyings of a woman with a Zakar. Lia frowned. That's different. Quite different. Zakar is often used not just for male, but for a Judean male, a covenant-bound man commanded to mate with only Judean women. And Isha is woman, but shares its consonants with Ish, man. Lia blinked. So it isn't about homosexuality at all? Never was. It forbade a Judean man from lying with an Israelite woman. But I think it had a much more important purpose. It protected the Nazarenes Betulaim, the temple virgins, the Vestal virgins, the keeper of the fire. It was a purity command to protect the Ansar and Kesar bloodline. It was not a universal sexual ethic. And it's been mistranslated and weaponized. Pamela's voice lowered. Exactly. A law about boundaries to protect the bloodline has been turned into a cudgel against love. The implication of what this meant about her brother's death struck Lia like a hammer. Determined not to let it take her down, she closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and did her best to shake it off. I have another question. Pamela smiled. Tell me. Have you looked into Lucius the Niger's lineage? His name Niger means black. Pamela nodded slowly. He was a grandson of Cleopatra Selene and Juba II, the North African king. Lucius the Niger's mother was their daughter, the one who vanished from the record. Because she had dark skin like her father? No, Pamela said. She wasn't erased because she had dark skin. She was hidden by design. Her roles were too many for a single name. She was the Magdalene, watchtower of the flock, daughter Jerusalem, but she was more. Explain. MGDLDR can be read Migdal Eder when translated watchtower of the flock. But MGDLDR has other possibilities, and Stephen's speech leaves a clue. Lia leaned forward. Wait. Tower of the flock is Migdal Eder? But you're saying those same letters form something else? Pamela nodded. Yes. MGDLDR can also be read as Mgadal Adar. Mother, great, glory. The same consonants encode both meanings. Mother, great, glory, Leah whispered. That sounds like a title. A title hidden in plain sight, Pamela said. And Adar, Adar, is a Hebrew equivalent of doxa, the Greek word for glory that Stephen used. He used that word to point the reader to Micah 4:8 through 10 and the prophecy of the return of daughter Jerusalem. Leah sat back, stunned. So when Stephen invoked the God of glory, he wasn't referencing majesty. He was whispering where goddess would be found in the Hebrew Bible. Yes, Pamela smiled. But get this. The daughter of Juba also wore masks of other historical characters, Agrippina and Philo, but also the freedman Pallas and the freedwoman Caenis, each a mask of the same eternal presence. Let me get this straight, Leah said. Daughter of Juba played many roles, the divine feminine in many disguises, not to conceal her, but to protect the truth until it was time. You got it. Pamela tapped the edge of the vellum-bound text. The inscriptions near the statue of Athena refer to her as Juba's daughter. No name, but a key. To name her would mislead. She was known by many names. And Lucius the Niger, Leah added, was her son, a living enigma. His name wasn't a whisper, it was a trumpet for those with ears to hear. A mark of bloodline in Revelation, Pamela said softly. The Nazarene story Rome preserved wasn't a lie. It was a riddle, and she was the center of it. And still is, Leah said, because blood remembers. Pamela nodded. Juba's daughter was the embodiment of Elam, the feminine principle, the spiral of creation, the memory encoded in matter. Leah stood and pulled a small case from her satchel. Inside, carefully folded, was a copy of an ossuary inscription an archaeologist found in Jerusalem. It said, Mariame, who bears the ark. She was the ark, Leah said, and the voice within. Pamela whispered, the midrash of YaH-Zeus was half of the message, the other half was hers. She placed her palm over the candlelight and let the heat guide her. A memory not hers, but one she trusted, rose like mist from stone. The sun had not yet risen, but the sky blushed with its promise. Vestal virgins sang as they danced in a slow sacred circle around the tomb, their white garments flowing like mist. The scent of baking salsa wafers, earthy and spiced, rose with the morning air. At the center, Mother, robed in stately white, placed a laurel crown upon her son's head and draped a necklace of red roses around her daughter's neck. She then turned to the vestals and gently instructed them to fill earthen cups with wine, cups soon to be lifted in praise of the reborn son and the reborn daughter. Resurrection was not an event. It was a restoration of the sacred feminine, the return of daughter Jerusalem. Pamela set down her glass and watched the candlelight flicker across the feather's edge, remembering her concern as they boarded the plane in Santa Fe. Not confirmation, not damnation, she thought. Revelation. And it was only just beginning. Pamela opened a new page and wrote at the top, the Magdalene key. Below it, she drew two feathers crossed at the shaft. One voice, one echo, two memories finally heard as one. This concludes chapters 11 and 12. Join us next time for chapter 13, The House Beneath the Hill, Chapter 14, The Hidden Crown, and Chapter 15, The Flame That Waited.